Manhunt underway right now for a suspect who allegedly fired at ICE agents in Alvarado, Texas last week. Officers have identified him as Benjamin Song, an Army veteran who the FBI is considering armed and dangerous. Federal prosecutors say the alleged gunman purchased 4 of the guns that were found in connection with the shootings at those or of those agents. 2 of those AR-style rifles, we are told, were found at the scene. One of them had a binary trigger, which we understand is the ability to have a more rapid fire. It is quicker than a standard semi-automatic rifle. This all comes as anti-ICE activists become increasingly violent, spiking assaults on Border Patrol agents across America. You're watching Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner, here with my co-host Emily Compagno. Also joining us today, Kennedy, host of the Kennedy Saves the World podcast, Lisa Boothe, Fox News political analyst, and Jeremy Hunt, Veterans on Duty chairman and former Army intelligence captain. Federal immigration officers have been in the crosshairs of violent attacks, literally, since anti-ICE rhetoric ramped up. And it has been. It's just gotten so much worse in, say, the last month or so. In recent days, federal officers faced 2 separate ambushes in Texas. 12 suspects now face serious charges in that Alvarado, Texas ambush I was just mentioning previously. 11 of them are facing attempted murder. Take a look at this. In San Francisco, it's an anti-ICE protest that eventually devolved into a full-blown assault on federal agents. Shoving, punching, and they are all wearing masks. The brutal altercation led to the blocking of traffic. Video here showing this black SUV in the middle of all the chaos. The driver, presumably fed up, drove through that violent crowd as one of the protesters was hanging on to the van's front hood. And there's a new Democrat proposal now that would dox federal immigration officers, stripping them of their face masks during those field operations, identifying the law enforcement who are already being targeted and their families. Left-wing politicians like the bill.
Every single ICE agent who's engaged in this aggressive overreach and are trying to hide their identities from the American people will be unsuccessful in doing that.
I'm going to introduce legislation that essentially says no more masked federal agents in our community.
The bill is actually pretty straightforward. No face coverings, no masks, with certain exemptions to that.
President Trump is going after the Democrat-led proposal, calling supporters of the bill hypocritical and accusing them of hating America.
They wouldn't be saying that if they didn't hate our country, and they obviously do. These officers are doing a tremendous job. They're great patriots. If you expose them because of statements like have been made by Democrats and others on the left, usually, mostly, I think probably exclusively, you put them in great danger, tremendous danger. And it's sort of funny when people picket in front of Columbia, in front of Harvard, and they have masks on, more than masks. I mean, you can't see anything. Nobody complains about that.
He makes an excellent point there, Jeremy.
Yeah, he does. I mean, I think any American looking at that footage, watching these ICE agents be brutally assaulted, should be disgusted by this. This is not how we do in America. And honestly, it's very similar to stories I've heard from a lot of Vietnam veterans who came home from war and were spit upon, shoved. They were assaulted many times. They couldn't wear their uniforms in public because a lot of people had a hard time separating their issues with the political issue of the war in Vietnam with the soldier. I think it's very similar to what we're seeing here. I mean, these are ICE agents who put their lives on the line, who care about our country, who are just doing their jobs. And now because of these extremists who hate Donald Trump and hate what those of us who care about strong borders stand for, they hate that so much that they're willing to attack the agents themselves. This is, I think, something that I thought we had moved beyond. When I served in uniform, no one, were pushing us or spitting upon us anymore because I thought as a country we had moved on. But this footage tells me that there's still a segment of people in this country who think political extremist violence is still acceptable.
Or it's a new generation of it.
Yeah.
And now wants to mix in politics.
That's right.
Kennedy, when you look at this, my big question is, okay, so they hate America. We get that. And I guess maybe they also hate people who protect Americans. Okay, we get that. Do they love like gang members and killers? And I mean, what are they for?
I mean, if you're talking about the politicians in places,
I was talking about the crazy people who they're looking for in the manhunts. But you make a good point.
No,
it's
I mean,
hard
but
sometimes to tell the difference in how they express their words.
No, it really does feel like even though, and we have seen this in Congress when Democrats and Republicans go in for security briefings, Democrats in private will say, I really support our troops, I support federal law enforcement, but then they come out and they virtue signal and talk about passing bills like this. And unfortunately, for these unsophisticated, stinky Antifa protesters who want to do as much harm as they possibly can to law enforcement, they're not going to differentiate between FBI, U.S. Marshals, HSI agents, and ICE agents. They just want to do as much harm as they possibly can to law enforcement, federal or otherwise. And, these lawmakers who are charged with putting forth legislation that betters the country, they're putting them at risk. And so my challenge is, if you have a problem with ICE and, if it's an institutional problem, then write some legislation and get some of your colleagues on the other side to co-sign it with you to make it better. But this is only raising the temperature. And, now we're just going to fixate on one issue, and that's face masks. And it really lets us take our eye off of the larger picture.
I thought Democrats liked face masks when they were locking everybody down. That wasn't that.
I'm shocked they're being hypocrites.
Oh my God, Emily.
Yeah, look, I think it's patently and painfully obvious that there is an organized push behind the scenes for this island of misfits that we see everywhere, all of these pockets. You don't get 12 sets of body armor and two-way radios and all of these amazing bells and whistles and this organized attack, drawing out law enforcement and then absolutely ambushing them without something being behind it. So I'm very grateful that this is happening under an administration where I know my faith is that they will protect and seek to protect these ICE agents by prosecuting them. I'm so grateful that all of them are being charged with attempted murder, because under the prior administration, they would all be walking free and there would be zero accountability. But it's the same playbook where we have the Democrat elected officials that egg on this kind of behavior with their rhetoric. And they are also the ones that say words are violence, but they themselves engage in terrible rhetoric that sort of riles up all of these protesters and these Upper East Siders that need to have somewhere to put their energy. And then you couple that with the extremely dangerous and organized Antifa type that have zero regard for any ideology other than complete destruction. And that is a massive recipe for disaster. So what we see in San Francisco, I think, we're used to seeing those pockets. Oh, they always do that. But that shouldn't be the status quo, especially in these ridiculous towns like Portland and Seattle, where it's like 90% white. And for some reason, they're out there screaming about things they know nothing about other than tying themselves to police cars and destroying everything. So the local and state officials need to get on board, too.
Look, we can't give these people the America that we love. They don't deserve to have the country that people like Jeremy and my father and your family members have fought. They don't deserve that America. It's ours. They can't take it from us.
It is ours, and we should be taking it back, which is what the Trump administration's trying to do. Only in the Democrat Party are the villains the heroes and the heroes the villains. That's the upside down world that they live in. And make no mistake, our ICE agents are heroes. Look what they do. They just got an MS-13 kingpin near Omaha, Nebraska, who is wanted in El Salvador for 5 murders and on its top 100 most wanted list. At the end of last month, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced that they have arrested more than 2,700 alleged members of the notorious Tren de Aragua gang. That is what the Trump administration is trying to do. And what the unmasking of the ICE agents, or the attempt to do so, reminds me of when Democrats, prior to the last election, they were trying to strip Donald Trump's Secret Service away from him, detail away from him. And remember, that was led by Benny Thompson, who was the Democrat House Homeland Security Committee ranking member who knew better, because it was well known that Iran was trying to assassinate Donald Trump as well as cabinet members, yet he was trying to strip his Secret Service detail away from him. Also at a time when Biden said that it was time to put Trump in a bullseye, and then that is exactly what happened at Butler, Pennsylvania. So, it's time for Democrats to try to be a little bit more responsible.
And we remember that day this Sunday.
Absolutely.
Because, there were lives changed forever, a death that day. So much.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.